Burnout's real when there's so much expectation put on you as well. You know, you have so many things to accomplish at one time, and it can't all happen at one time.
In life, you're constantly on this teeter-totter where sometimes the business is rising up and things are amazing. And then all of a sudden, home life is like, hey, peekaboo, like, here I am.
Everyone's dream is equal, regardless of what sense that might be in, right? But it's that understanding of where that pulls come from.
People pass away in my life that are in their 30s or 40s, who are in the grind and the hustle, who will never see whatever that end is. You see people completely burning out. Welcome to the TrailBlazeHers, the space where high-achieving women finally exhale and feel deeply understood.
We are Brittany Anderson and Disha Solanki, two leaders who have built, scaled, exited, and supported multi-8 and 9-figure companies
while carrying far more than most people ever see.
Here we go where most conversations stop.
The burnout, the pressure, the ambition, the identity shifts, the invisible load, and the moments you almost quit.
This is where the real story begins.
TrailBlazeHers.
Welcome to the origin episode. Man, this is going to be a fun one because we just get to sit here, Disha, and talk about how we met, why the podcast is here, and most importantly, the value that our incredible listeners are going to be getting out of this as we re-release and relaunch the TrailBlazeHers podcast. So yeah, Disha, this is going to be fun.
It's going to be fun, and our listeners get to listen and insight into our craziness, where we've been, where we are, and where we're going to, right, Brittany?
Heck yes. And let's just start this by saying the same thing that we say within our TrailBlazeHers community is come as you are. You're going to realize we do the same. And that's really the space that we're creating here. So a couple years ago now, Disha and I actually met at a mastermind in the midst of both of us having some really cool success within our business and entrepreneurial lives. So, for myself, I have been able to work with a lot of businesses across the country in multiple different industries, let's call it, and was able to have my own really, really awesome exit alongside some great partners in a previous firm. So that's kind of where my life has been in previous years. And Disha, I know you've supported incredible businesses, some of them going on to have, multi-9-figure exits. That's something to be proud of.
I'm proud of everyone I support. In the last 18 years, every business that I've interacted with or supported has always meant something to me, and their story has always meant something to me. I lead from a very heart-centered place, not always to my benefit, but I've always decided that that's where I sit the best, in alignment, and all of those businesses story and their success stories was something I was invested in. And it wasn't always wrapped up in the end dollar amount or the end pound amount. It might have been something else. They wanted freedom of time, their time back, lots of things.
And that really brings us, I think you've set that up so wonderfully. It brings us to why all of this was even born in the first place. And, as I mentioned, we met in an amazing mastermind, one that is, geared towards some of the most incredible, most impactful entrepreneurs in the world. And what Disha and I found is that as we were starting to talk, that there's not enough spaces curated where women can truly show up as their full authentic selves, being able to really speak to the load that can feel like complete, burying, where we're juggling home, we're juggling business, we're juggling in some instances children and families and all of the expectations around us. Plus we're entrepreneurs and we want to make an impact and we want to do some great things. And so many communities are built around hustle and not necessarily true alignment. The spaces that we found ourselves in, it was either too basic or all strategy, all marketing, but lacking in soul. And that's where we realized, we don't need more noise. We need resonance. That's what's missing.
I would also say that the further up the food chain you get or the more successful you get in business, it is a man's world. And we were appearing in a lot of male-dominated spaces. And what I was finding is the 5 a.m. club didn't work for me, and I couldn't do meditation, a workout, and maybe whatever else was prescribed to me before the day starts. Because I don't know about you, Brittany, but my day starts with usually trying to figure out how to get my kids out of bed whilst trying to get myself out of bed and getting everybody ready and out of the house. And those sorts of things didn't work. And I think, even when we connected, there has to be a different way of leading business or being in business and life at the same time, and for it to be okay to be like that.
Yeah, and that's really what this is about. It's choice. So, why we even decided to come together and start sharing this message and bringing in more women is because, like Disha and I, we've talked about this so many times. For us, and just in our circumstance, this isn't right, wrong, better, different, whatever. We chose to be very active in our kids' lives, right? There's amazing women that have decided to hire a nanny to do the running, to do the morning routines. For us, we were like, no, we want to be that person. But we're also business women and we also care about making money and growing and doing all the things. And so we decided, we're like, you know what? Like, that's the morning routine that we want. And we still want success. And we want a space where women can come and just, you know what? Whatever you decided, that's okay. Support, challenge, like those are the types of things that we need, and to be seen and heard for where we are or what we choose for our own lives. And so, when we started talking, I mean, Disha, I think back to when we first met a couple years ago, it was in a breakout room, like in a breakout Zoom room in a mastermind. And we're literally talking about how there needs to be space for women. There needs to be even better strategy in business. And it turned into this like ballooned conversation of, we need to create a community that actually does these things and truly delivers while having heart and soul and connection and, bringing together really great ladies that we want to hang out with and spend time with. And so, what we were building or what we are building is a space for the woman who is high achieving, who is deep thinking, who is, craving that attention or intention and alignment and an elegance of sort to life where things flow and don't feel so stinking hard. Like, Disha, I'm so done with hard.
And you know what? And that's okay. I mean, how many times, Brittany, have we each said, not just to each other, but over the course of the time we've been in business, like before we even met each other, we just want to quit and burn it all down? How many times?
Yeah.
And we don't mean any of those things. We mean it in that, like those few minutes, and maybe for the next 24 hours, we might mean it, but we don't really mean it and we don't really want to go through it. What we really need is a cheerleader by our side to say, this is a bad moment and you're going to get through this. This time's going to pass. You're going to get to the other end of it and you will want to go back into it. So don't quit right now. Just let it be, let it ride, and it's all going to be fine in the end. And if it's not all going to be fine, find a way of making it fine. And we're here to help you.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked about this so much too, but when you think about those times when you get to the burn it down phase where you're like, that's it, I'm done, I'm selling everything, we're taking our family, we're gonna go live in a hut on a beach, and that's it. Like, we're gonna live
Yeah.
this simple life. And
And you're not going to earn any money. You're not going to live. You're not going to go out and do anything. You're not going to do any of those things. Your whole life comes to, it's either 155% of something or it's 0%. It feels like there's no middle ground where it's okay.
so true. And, I think that part of the problem, at least for myself and so many women that we've talked to, is that we're the strong ones. Like, we're the ones that aren't able to have those meltdowns or to have the feelings of tossing in the towel or, selling everything and moving away. Like, we're often the ones that are carrying the load and we're the support system for everyone around us. So I don't know about you, Disha, but anytime that there is that point where you're like, this is enough. I've had enough. The people around you are going, whoa, like, I don't even know how to deal with this because normally Brittany's strong. Like, normally Disha's the one that's carrying and lifting all of us up. What's going on? She's not like, I can't even be around her right now.
Oh, yeah, that sounds so familiar. Yeah, 100%, right? Because we are the ones, and had this said to me many times. How do you do it all? I'm like, I don't do it all. I have no idea what you're talking about. That is like a myth, and don't sell it to yourself because it's not a good one to sell to yourself. You can have it sometimes, and then many times you're just doing a balancing act of some description.
Yeah, I like to call it, it's like that teeter-totter effect. And that's really where I think as our journeys have continued and once our paths crossed, it was like this moment of impact, right? I think about this and it was this very intentional, and whatever your beliefs are listening to this, it was a divine intervention of sorts because it was just this moment of whoa, like feeling seen and heard and welcomed into a space, even though it was just the two of us at the time, as we started looking at, call it the shift, call it the things that needed to happen, we went, there needs to be a space where you have total intention, where you have full alignment, not just in your business, but in whole life alignment. Because quite frankly, I mean, we don't really believe in work life balance. There's the teeter totter effect. That's what I was getting to is that in life, you're constantly on this teeter totter where sometimes, all of a sudden the business is rising up and things are amazing. And then all of a sudden home life is like, hey, peekaboo, like here I am. And then you kind of have the teeter totter go the other way. And the important thing is that you're never just stagnant. If you remember being a kid, I think about the visual image of we used to get on these teeter totters on the playground, which I don't even think my kids have teeter totters anymore. Like, I think they totally exiled them because they're so dangerous. But you would do this game where you'd try to equally distribute weight. And it was so stinking impossible to keep it that way, like super straight with everybody's toes, like right above the ground, because the minute somebody shifted their weight, the whole thing would topple. And I think that's life, right? Like that's life and that's business and it's all the things. And I think, Disha, for you and I and for the women that have been, come into our communities, that's really what it is. There's this shift of being like, I'm done trying to do that balancing act. I'm done trying to carry it all and keep that weight centered. I want a space where I can lighten the load, still build super intentionally, still create massive success and impact, but do it in a way that's a little bit different and stop being the woman who is seen as holding all the things because that's not a badge of honor. And quite frankly, I've had this kind of hard self-realization gut check. It also ties a little bit to ego, right? Like there's a badge of pride and honor that we wear when we, are the woman who does it all and can just carry everything and is the support for all. And that is so unhealthy and so draining. And I know, Disha, one of the things that you said just the other day in one of our cohort meetings was coming into a fresh year, a fresh kind of jumpstart, whether it's a quarter, whether it's a year, whether it's just you decided on February 12th, I'm going to change who I am. But your whole lead in was, I'm going to live authentically. So do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because I think that is such a shift that we're seeing in women today is this drive towards, I'm not performing anymore. I'm just going to be me, love me or hate me. It's okay.
I think there's so many expectations on us as women, and I know that I have felt it a lot. There's societal expectations. You do get left with not many friends really who understand where you're coming from too. And, Brittany, we live on different sides of the Atlantic, but, we connected great and we completely understood where each other was coming from at the end of the day. Burnout's real when there's so much expectation put on you as well. You have so many things to accomplish at one time, and it can't all happen at one time. And, if there is that expectation that you can just do it all, and you're right, we don't buy in lots of services because I struggle in my brain, and I bet lots of women do, as to, what should we be doing and what should we be buying in? But I always wanted to be not at home mum. That's different, okay? And I fully respect any mum who stays at home full time or even looks after a parent's full time and is a full time carer, because those women really build us up in society and enable the likes of me and Brittany to be able to go off and, fulfill our own aspirations of what we want our impact and legacy to be at the end of the day. So everyone's dream is equal, regardless of what sense that might be in, right? But it's that understanding of where that pulls come from. Like, I mean, we had a joke, I think, a week before last, Brittany, and I said, my kids go to 2 different schools and I'm literally bombarded with emails 24/7 to the point where I missed a parents' evening nearly within 24 hours because my son had quietly missed the fact that we had one until another parent on a WhatsApp group had said it. And I never read those groups either. Lucky me, I read the group. I was thankful to the other mum who sent me a screenshot of where I should go find a link for a parents' evening. And it's having that camaraderie of women who don't have the queen bee syndrome or alpha females, which is what I have most come across, if I was honest, of where they want their stature and then, you've really got to play to it. We're not those types of humans. I'm an empath. That's my natural default setting. And actually, my 2026 is I'm going to step into my own because I feel like for really, really the longest time now that I have to be someone that is not authentically me. I have to show up somewhere and not be me. I have to pretend I'm interested in something when maybe I'm not. And that's completely fine with me lots of times. But sometimes it would be nice if someone took an interest in what I'm interested in and, you know, where I would like to go or I would like to talk about. And not to say that I'm self serving, but just so that I give myself permission to show up as me and I'm good enough. Now, we hear this a lot. Women, given that advice a lot, just show up. But it's not true because, there are so many influencers that tell us we have to look a certain way. Our hair has to be a certain way. We have to eat all these amazing like protein, sleep well, work out, meditate. Like, really, I have to say, who has time for all of those things in any given day, right? And really, my children are older than your three, and mine are teenagers. But it doesn't get easier, it just becomes different, is the conclusion I've come to. They need you in a different way. You are a parent, stroke coach, stroke counselor in many ways, stroke whatever else it might be, right? And it's navigating those things without trying to feel too guilty. I mean, Brittany and I were at an event not that long ago in the US, and my daughter was going through some real friendship breakdown. And I felt terrible that I was like an 8-hour time difference away from her and a whole 12-hour plane ride away from her. But you know what? We made it work. I FaceTimed her, WhatsApping her. And sometimes you just have to go, this is what it is for today. This is how I earn a living. And this is what makes me a better mum, even though I'm not right there next to her. And I'm there most of the time, right? It's just that 15-20% that I'm not there. And it's coming to the conclusion that showing up as you, however that may be, on that given day, it's okay. And you may not have it all together on that day. That's cool
Mm.
too.
It is so true. I keep thinking about I had a mentor of mine, this has been a few years ago now, who looked me dead in the face and he was like, "Brittany, your biggest strength and your biggest weakness is the same thing." And I was like, "Okay, I love introspection. I love personal growth. Like, give it to me." And he's like, "You fall in love with people's visions so much, especially when they have energy around it because of that empath characteristic, that
Hmm.
you literally embody them as your own and you will do whatever it takes to help them get there." And they're like, "It's killing you because you're trying so hard to make things work for others." And there was this, and I think Disha was in and amongst us having multiple conversations over, the last couple of years, especially, and really what brings us to today is this realization that succeeding from alignment, like true whole life alignment, feels nothing like succeeding from force. And when you feel like you're forcing something and you're trying to just, make it go forward. And let me give a caveat that there's a difference. There are times where you have to grind. Like there are plenty of times where I'm working on something. Disha, you're working on something. We're on different time zones, and I'm like on my 11 p.m. time zone, and you're picking it up at your 5 a.m. time zone. And we're like, well, the beauty of this is we really never have to rest. We can just keep going. Like there's
We're
deadlines and
just
there's
an extension of each other at this point.
yes, it's just like you just keep it flowing and it's all fine. But I think the point is that in like where things are at today, there is very little to nothing, truthfully, that we are taking on where we feel like we have to force it. Again, difference between grind, different between having a tight deadline and knowing you got to get something over the finish line and maybe being a little ADHD and procrastinating it. I mean, not that we would ever do that. I mean, ever. But there's a difference. And so that really brings us to where TrailBlazeHers, as a community is today, where we've got high achieving women that they're not coming in to shrink or to perform. There's two ends of that spectrum where it's like you get some women that come in and they'll almost play small because they don't want to seem too powerful, too successful, to insert whatever word it is. Or you get the women that come in, Disha mentioned the queen bee. If you don't know what the queen bee syndrome is, it's the woman who comes in and is like, you know what? I had to claw my way all the way up here. I had to climb, and fight tooth and nail. And I came from nothing. And you're going to have to figure it out because I figured it out. And I'm not going to take that time to help you get here. And we're going, well, no, like, let's shortcut. Like, why would you want to make it hard? Life's hard enough for all of us.
Exactly. That's right. I'm totally on board with that. Take my words, steal them. And when you say about, being in alignment compared to in force, I always say it makes your heart light up. Like literally, when you work in alignment with yourself, your heart's lit up, your soul is lit up, and you have that extra spring in your step. And it doesn't matter how stacked your day is on those days when you're in alignment, you go to bed thinking, I did a good job today, whatever that job might be.
Yes. And, I think really what this boils down to, it goes back to that alignment and that authenticity. And, Disha and I have worked with businesses from truly all across the world in helping them to be aligned to themselves, to their vision, to their mission, and to their teams, right? And the thing that comes out is that if you are in that mode of force, or you are wearing a mask or putting on a performance, it is not sustainable. So there's a term, and I've used this term before, the fake it till you make it. Like I've literally had to tell myself before, fake it till you make it. And then I hit this point where I'm like, that's a horrible piece of advice that we're giving out to other people and that we're saying to ourselves. Because you're literally saying, like, be somebody that you're not ultimately and force yourself into burnout oftentimes
Yeah.
because that making it is an ever moving target when you are highly driven, right? So we're like, then you're going into this mode of, okay, I'm going to fake it till I make it.
Because you reach one part of your journey or wherever you think you made it is the end destination, when really the end destination is a moving point. And then you get to the next one, and then you finally get to a point, maybe where you think or don't think that this destination is never arriving and there needs to be a different way.
Yes. And, that's one of the things we were kind of joking about in we had a new cohort launch for the TrailBlazeHers the other day. And Deesh and I were getting ready for it and we'd been preparing and leading up. And we're like, you know what? Neither one of us really love sitting through PowerPoint presentations. Neither of us really love putting together PowerPoint presentations, even when our team does it for us or we have it prepared. It's like, it just feels rigid and it feels rehearsed and it feels all those things. And so we said, you know what? We're just going to show up authentically as we are. We have a formula, we've got some notes, and we're going to have engagement and depth. And that's where things are at today. So when you're looking at how you're navigating through life, just because somebody told you to run your business or, you know, market a certain way or grow in a certain strategic way or use some sort of system in a way, it doesn't mean that it's perfect and it's true. It means that it is a building block for you to choose how you operate best and to do that deeper discovery. And that's ultimately what the Trailblazers is all about. You're going to see women coming on this podcast that are talking about the real, like the real raw behind the scenes of what it took to build, what it takes today to make things more simplified. What happens when we get to these proverbial points of burnout or just complete exhaustion, and how do you move through it in a way that's actually healthy and not part of the fake it till you make it hustle culture, because that is just, it's not right. I'm going to say this, this is something that like drove me absolutely bonkers. So there's we're just going to call them a very, very well-known marketer in today's world, right? This person is
Yeah.
all over the place. And I just saw a post the other day that said, if you are in, how was it? Something about if you're in your 30s and you're building your business and you're not where you want to be yet, you should be working more hours than you've ever worked in your life, because a few short years of running that full steam is going to get you light years ahead. And I sat back and I was like, okay, this is not a boastful comment, but as a woman who has had a level of success in my life, I read that and I went, that is terrible advice. Like, yes, there are sprints. There are times that you have to just go full steam ahead. And there are definitely some late nights in there. But telling somebody that the only measure of success is if they literally just kill themselves for like 3 or 4 years, then you'll get there. I'm sorry, but if you take a second and peek your head up and look around, I mean, I've had people pass away in my life that are in their 30s or 40s who are in the grind and the hustle, who will never see whatever that end is. You see people completely burning out. You see the mental health crisis across the United States and global, if you really want to blow this up. And I'm sitting here going, why are we listening to this still? Why is that the thing? So that's what we're getting past here, is we're having real conversations. We're coming up with even better ways to grow and to support women in a way that they need to be supported, not by some marketing guru telling you to kill yourself for 3 years because then it'll be successful. I've known a lot of people that grind and work a lot of hours and still don't really get anywhere. So
Maybe they weren't working smartly. We have no idea. But I think as women, we're really good at working smart because we have so many other things to do, right? And other places to be on the whole, let's say.
yeah, that's so true. And so really what this boils down to is, again, this is the origin episode. This is our relaunch, our re-release. And we want to just iterate that this podcast, we want you to come back. If you are a woman who is building something remarkable, but you want to do it without that burnout, if you're somebody who leads powerfully and you want to lead even more intentionally and consistently stay within integrity to who you are and how you best operate, then this is absolutely the space for you. If you're somebody who knows that you're meant for more, that you feel that itch and that call, and maybe you don't really have a space to talk about that, or people look at you like you're crazy when you say that. I have a
What
story on
happened to us?
I have an ex-husband that is an ex-husband for a reason, because anytime I'd speak to that, he'd be like, no. That's for another time. We'll share that in a different episode where we really get raw and
So
open
what
and
Brittany's
honest.
saying really is that we'll make sure that, when you come to us with a hope, dream, or aspiration, we'll help you make it work.
Heck yes. So why you should subscribe, if those things resonate with you, if you crave conversations that go beyond surface level, that are not anywhere near the whole girl boss cliche, which please don't get us started on that because that's not a good thing either. But what you'll get from subscribing. So you're going to get conversations from women that challenge the norm. You're going to get tools that are all completely aligned to building from an aligned space, stories that normalize this messy middle that we all live in, and permission to build beyond the burnout culture. So this podcast is built completely for you, for women that are ready to build, that are ready to make impact, continue to make impact, build even bigger, and create lives that are pretty darn cool in the meantime.
Yeah, absolutely. And we look forward to welcoming you in.
All right, so our next episode, we're going to be talking a little bit about what makes communities successful, what makes them impactful, talk a little bit about some of the reasons why women don't particularly participate in communities that are built around them, and why they maybe haven't been built for the woman that is achieving and creating success and wanting to be aligned. So we're going to peel back all the layers on what it means to be part of and cultivate an incredible community that you actually want to participate in.
If this episode supported you, share it with a woman you respect and want to lift up.
Join our free TrailBlazeHers community, the space where high-achieving women finally feel met.
You'll find the link in the show notes.
Until next time, keep moving forward, keep listening to yourself.
And remember, you deserve support too.